So it's been some time since we've seen each other, and I am so excited to learn more about where Adasina's work is right now.
We've worked quite hard and have done a wonderful job of proving that you don't really need to choose between financial performance and aligning with your values. In fact, one can even drive the other, right? And so we're at a place now where Adasina is becoming profitable in our 5th year, and we're transitioning to broad-based employee ownership.
Oh, wow.
And
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's really exciting. It's really exciting.
Is this like a big reveal dropping
This is a
right
big
now?
reveal.
Oh, yay.
Yes. So we're really excited about it. And I get a lot of feedback about that being a generous thing to do. And I don't feel that it's generous as much as it's just like appropriately allocating the wealth, because my co-founder and I are the owners, and the way that things are set up is that even if other people make significant contributions, we continue to be the owners, and as wealth accumulates, it's all ours. And in reality, I want the community that helped build Adasina to have a significant amount of that wealth. And so we are going through a process of subsidizing the transition to employee ownership. We're not doing it kind of the traditional way of expecting them to buy in, because these people have put their lives into the work. And so we're looking for ways to ensure that their contributions they've already made are represented in the employee ownership stakes that they get. So for me, it's about appropriate distribution. I hear a lot about kind of the generosity of redistribution, but in fact, I think it makes a more stable company and companies. It makes a more stable society. I know you've known some very wealthy people. The ones that aren't redistributing don't seem to have as abundant and happy lives as the ones who are ensuring that the communities that they're in have what they need, right? So, I mean, I actually think it's good for me as a founder too, right? I actually get to keep the community that I built this amazing company with.
It's not about generosity, it's about what's right. And it's not just about what's good for the co-founders, but it's actually about what's good for the entire team. It's interesting to hear you say this, because what stands out to me is that you have deeply internalized these values in how you lead the organization and then your vision for what you do. And I actually do think that there is a level of internalization that happens with people when people internalize capitalism, right? When they start to see their wealth as their worth and their value. You deeply and personally believe this work. And so how did you get to a point where you were willing to go against the grain, go against the status quo, and not just the mission of Adasina, but specifically the operations and how you guys engage in doing this work?
I can really see that in the great separation of resources that happened between dominant and non-dominant groups. So whether that's between white folks and black folks in the United States, whether that's between people who identify as male versus people who identify as female, like there's, in the great separation of resources between groups, it feels like the dominant groups got a lot of obvious power and benefits. But what the non-dominant groups, many of which I come from, poor, black, community led by women in an environmentally vulnerable area, what we got was community. And it was very clear, very, very clear that we weren't going to survive without each other. And I know, because I spent so much time without money, I know that money is an agreement between all of us. Like, we've agreed that these numbers on this page mean something, right, about how we're going to relate. And it's really important to me that I not only have security from a financial perspective, but I want security in community, because where I come from, that's the only real security there is. It's somebody who's going to let you sleep at their house and, look out for you if you don't have homes, right? And you're together. So I want to keep the community that I've been in and that I've had the pleasure of leading in many ways that brought us to this point. And you don't keep good communities if you don't appropriately share the wealth. I mean, it just, people have an internal sense of fairness. It just doesn't seem right. So it doesn't seem right to me and it wouldn't seem right to them. And that's kind of the origins that I'm coming from, I guess, because so many of our staff people come from those similar communities. I think that they get it. They aren't kind of suspicious. They aren't like, well, what are you doing? Transitioning wealth and power to, transitioning wealth and power and leadership to this other group of folks. They don't assume it should be a different way. They know that their survival is rooted in community as well. So these people are my family. Yeah, and I'm just taking care of my family.
Hey, that's really beautiful. I do believe in the safety and security. There's this, that security comes in community. There's a person, Zachary Norris, previous executive director of the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, and he wrote a book that called Community Keeps Us Safe. And I just really appreciate the reframing of what safety looks like, and that it's not about your wealth, your capital, your big house. It's actually about the strength of the relationships and trust that you build with people. So one thing that stands out to me in this story that you tell about Adasina is, in addition to rethinking who the shareholders are of the firm, you're also rethinking how decisions are made, right? Like what the power structures are. And so for me, that aligns with what we do at Katali, because in the founding of the foundation, our board was really clear that they wanted our team who's made up of what we call practitioner funders. Practitioner funders are people that come out of a lived and movement experience doing the work on the ground. And so myself, like I shared, I come to this work as a queer Black woman, as an organizer, person who works in policy. So many of our team members have actually been in grassroots organizations doing the type of work of the organizations that we fund. And so rather than having a traditional philanthropic decision-making model where the program staff creates a docket, they put it before the board, they try to make the case, the board's really clear that this wealth should be redistributed out into community, and the decisions for how that happens should lie with community. And redistributing their resources, also redistributing their power to ensure that our team that's in deep relationship with grassroots groups on the ground, are all informing where and how these resources should move, to make sure that we're not just kind of recreating the same systems, the same wealth divide, the ways that we got here, but we're giving communities the opportunity to explore and experiment with new models or reclaiming traditional ways of being in relationship with each other. And I have found that in moving money, but also in moving power, that's also part of the healing and the building of community.
Absolutely.
Right? It has actually strengthened our relationship with our board. And I think this piece around healing is, yes, it's about systems change, it's about new organizations, it's interpersonal, it's individual, but it's also deeply spiritual. So it's interesting, right, to see how money, and some people talk about money as being like energy and how energy moves. If we challenge ourselves to move it well and to move it with our values, we can actually heal in a way that brings us all closer together.